see that unless there is surprise
자,
factor
이거
in
두
the
개
end.
어떻게 되지?
Showing Calderano how it's done with that shot.
Well said. Forced indeed.
아니죠.
Fours on the
코사인
scoreboard
알파하고
now.
코사인 베타가 곱해진다고 해서 코사인 알파 베타가 될까요?
코사인 알파랑 코사인 베타 마이너스
A taste of his own medicine. Calderano's been so good inside the table on the forehand side with that backhand flick. Liang Qingquin saying, "Oh yeah."
필수 부분이 어떻게
too, buddy.
나왔냐면요. 코사인
With the age of
알파
14, you
곱하기
have to use that
코사인
brain.
베타 마이너스 사인 알파
Being a top table tennis
여기
player as an
실수는
overthinker. I'm not saying either of these two do that, but
허수부는
it's just such a fine mental line to gauge.
사인 알파 코사인 베타
사인 알파 코사인
사인 베타
베타
코사인
Liang Qingquin right now has done wonderfully
코사인
to take
알파
every point since the timeout. He was down 2-4.
자 근데 이거 뒤에
That's
복권
five
어떻게
in a row.
됩니까? 응? 뒤에 복권
In terms of mentality, players keep a list. When you lose, you remember, especially when you're competitive.
알파 플러스 베타가 되겠지 지수정길 그대로 그죠? 얘가 평각이
Lob comes down wide.
얘가
But the fashion in which he lost his last encounter with Hugo Calderano, you know, at the top of the priority list, he's not paying attention to that list when he's playing Fan Zhendong. But in this match, the list comes back up and it is present on the mind. But as one of the smartest people I know in the game, Hugo Calderano is definitely focused on every single shot. Not the outcome, but what it takes to play the game to win.
He's missing a few balls though now that he was making before. It makes you think how desperate is he to win that, and how much has he contained his desire.
Well, credit to Liang Qingquin for bringing the quality here.
아니다 코사인 세제곱 베타
Heavy spin, slows it down, keeps it low to the net. Nice parallel opening.
Looking for more of a constructed point there.
각각 세제곱
Very limited
아니 이거 세제곱해도 돼요?
serve.
어차피 이거 다 여기서
The options it gives the receiver.
이거 세제곱해도 되고 이거 세제곱해도 됩니다
Yeah.
이거 세제곱해봐 그럼
Remember, this could be
이거
pivotal.
이거 세제곱하면
I would
어떻게
argue that
되겠어요?
it is if Liang Qingquin goes up 3-1.
3세트가
The man
되겠죠
who I've mentioned has a steel
3세트가 되면서
trap.
3세트에
Liang
대한
Qingquin has
얘기들이
come back time and time
실수와
again.
허수에 의해서 결정이 나버릴 겁니다 그쵸? 그냥
It's
이거
funny what
일단
it is that
세제곱해봅시다
makes heroes and how these athletes are regarded internationally. Big point there, sets up a 2-point lead, and 2 points away from a 3-1 lead. Liang Qingquin gets the serves back. Again, as a bigger guy, he manages to stay very loose. You look at the muscles in the legs, Liang Qingquin, think, how can a guy that strong stay so loose? And loose, flexible on the forehand, he frees himself with a 3-point lead. He's got 3 game points for a 3-1 advantage in this best of 7 championship match.
Slow things down wonderfully here.
코사인 세트에 들고 우리는 그냥 이렇게
Made it
써버려요
hard for Calderano to calibrate his
이렇게요
cracking counters.
헷갈릴까봐
And the growl from the
아이브는
Brits.
어떻게
A
됩니까?
celebration, fist clinched. Tell you more about what the conversation was. Calderano to serve.
아이가 한 번이 있어도 아이가 생기죠 그럼 여기가 2번이라는 얘기입니다
So
그쵸?
Calderano's coach, Jean-René Mounier,
이런 게 하나
immediately went
그죠?
over to talk to the umpire between
2차와
games.
1차 그죠?
There was
2차와
something
1차면 그런 게 3개
It wasn't
생깁니다
quite right. Now, naturally, as a commentator, the most common thing is a
그러니까
serve.
얘가 세개로 펴지면
But
어떻게 돼요?
sometimes it's just a light in the
마이너스 i가
background,
되면서요
something that's glowing or affecting vision for a player. Yesterday, we saw light peeping through a curtain that was adjusted.
근데 이게 뭐여야 되느냐 얘가 평각이 3세타인 단위복 선수죠?
Oh, the creativity in this to do it twice.
I love that there, Liang. He knows Calderano was going to be expecting something big. He comes around the side of it. A beautiful little drop. and then
여기서
wraps
또
around the
뭔가
ball
한등식이
with
나오겠는데?
side
그치?
spin.
네.
자, 코사인 3세트를 잠깐 봅시다, 이거.
Down the line, the quick power from Calderano in what is a must-win game and will be for the rest of this match.
코사인 3제곱, 그죠?
King Green against Fan
사인
when
제곱이
he pivoted.
얘좀 바꿀 수 있잖아.
And his big bomb beforehand.
맞죠? 코사인 3제곱.
Pace on this one to take it that early. Calderano taking some real chances now.
1빼기. 코사인
Question now
제곱.
as well of Liang's ability to not think about the finish line.
가능성 있게.
Got to expect Calderano to play all cards on the table stuff.
As wide as can be, I was surprised Liang Jingquin's gone around the net so many times this game that he went for the wide forehand in this rally.
I think it's a clever option because if he goes into the backhand, he knows Calderano will just block cross table. So he plays it wide to forehand. I think it'll be tough for Calderano to play a parallel winner.
마지막에 그냥 이렇게 쓸게요.
Calderano creating an even wider angle.
자, 그럼 코사인 세트 값만 알아도요. 그쵸? 3세트에 대한 코사인 값이
That was quite
나와요.
impressive, an off-balance touch shot to play it with such precision to the baseline. Liang Jingquin testing the footing on the other side.
사인 코사인
Seen
다
that
했는데
footwork
이것도
open
1
doors
마이너스
while
사인
in a
제곱을
handstand.
바꾸면 그쵸?
Goes for the kill, Calderano. Liang. A side spinny flick with a driven forehand.
자, 어떻게 됩니까?
Now this is one example of how change of pace can be so effective against a player who's so ramped up. Beautiful, nearly empty serve. Sometimes you have so much energy to kill the ball that subtle change of pace is tough for you to slow down your shot and adapt.
플러스 3사인 네.
4세트만 알아도
Liang with the wide touch.
3세트에 대한 사인 값이 있죠? 어렵지 않고
Out
볼수
to
있고.
cross table.
그리고 우리가 궁금한 건 N세트에 대한
Calderano
코사인
to
값과
move
사인
him
값
in a
있죠?
regular way.
그에
Knows the
대한
devastating
N승
power Calderano has.
N승하면 A
Probably
플러스
more
B의
than his
N승
own.
형태니까
So he's got to be
이양
smart with
정리를
his
해서
spin
NCR에서
placement.
또 다 표현이
Smart he is with the spin to win on this one. Liang Jingquin in front now is trailing 2-4.
You think as a bouncy serve as something that's quite dangerous to do, but that was crafty there, Liang.
Right, the pros know what they're doing, and on
근데
a
이제
serve that
중요한
doesn't
거는
come in
덧을
low
할
to the net, a
때는요,
little
그쵸?
bit higher,
예를 들어서
can be used very strategically.
얘를 갖고 와서 한번 더 쓸까?
Serious change of momentum here. A little bit off the top of the net there with that heavy spin backhand.
It's interesting when you think about Olympic selection. Liang has never lost to Calderano. He's also never lost to Lin Win-Ru.
What about Harimoto?
He's got a winning record.
There you go. Not too shabby. World number 3.
응? 그림이 더 빨라?
Now there's a big think tank in China, meaning a lot of big brains put their heads together to decide what the best recipe is to secure the gold. As Liang Jingquin wins 6 of the last 8. One question is, how do they play against non-Chinese players? Another question is, how do they handle pressure? How much experience do they have handling pressure? Liu Shiwen was, I'd say, the biggest lesson that China had in
그럼 이 녀석이
2010.
지금 E의 베타 회승이라는 얘기고요, 그렇죠? 이 녀석이
I
지금
say this to a player that I admire who became the world champion in 2019 and is one of the best of her generation, no doubt about it. But at world number 1,
이거 두 개를
had
더하는
to
데
play
있어서
against 2
우리는
former
참
Chinese
이걸
players
좀 써볼 수
representing
있습니다.
Singapore. And in the final, the women's team final,
가게
was
2등분
beaten
선
twice,
진짜?
even though she was world number 1.
가게 2등분 선
So
어떻게
the
될까요?
pressure matters.
It does.
가기?
And Liang's never lost to a non-Chinese at a World Champs. He's been a bit more vulnerable against Europeans. But here, 5 championship points.
The man looking to take the title, Liang Jingquin, has never taken a title at a champions event. He's been a finalist, but it was back in Xinjiang in 2023, and now 5 opportunities.
이분이
Liang Jingquin does it. Liang Jingquin, first time he has taken the champion.
맞네. 네.
평균이에요. 그쵸? 그러면 우리가 이걸 계산할 때 말이야. 이거는 곱셈이 아니라 이제 덧셈 뺄셈이에요. 그쵸? 그때 이걸 좀 구사하는 거죠. 이 평균인 얘를 갖고 묶어내버리는 거야.
네.
그러면 뭐가 있어야 돼요? 이게 있어야 되죠. 이거 2개 곱하는 순간 지수가 더해지면서 정확히 알파 i가 되겠냐? 그럼 여기는 당연히 이거겠네요.
네.
야, 그럼 이게 정체가 뭐야? 얘가. 응? 얘 정체가? 얘와 얘의 켤레네?
네.
맞죠? 얘와 얘의 켤레니까 아까 여기서 얘기했던 요거. 2배의 코사인. 맞죠?
네.
그러니까 얘가 돼버려요. 코사인 2분의 알파 마이너스 베타.
네.
아이. 맞죠?
네.
그러면 이게 결국은 이렇게 정리가 되겠네요. 얘는 뭡니까? 얘는 평각이 2분의 알파 플러스 베타니까
네.
풀어줬으면 이렇게 되겠는데요? 코사인 2분의 알파 플러스 베타 더하기 i 사인 2분의 알파 플러스 베타. 그죠?
네.
그리고 2배의, 그죠? 얘가 그대로 곱해지겠네요?
네.
이렇게요?
네.
맞죠? 근데 얘 뭐였어요? 얘 원래 코사인 알파 더하기 i 사인 알파.
This right now is
얘는 코사인 베타 더하기 i 사인 베타. 그쵸? 그럼 실수분은 당연히 코사인 알파 더하기 코사인 베타. 맞죠?
네.
허수분은 i
the time where every table tennis fan in the world wants to see what will happen between the man on top right there, Ma Long, the dragon, the dictator, the captain. He's world ranked number 1. He's the Olympic gold medalist. He's the standing world champion from Suzhou in 2015, and the only player that seems like a serious contender. And he's beaten Ma Long once on the World Tour, and despite having beaten him 3 times in the same Chinese Super League season, going 3-0, when the pressure is there, there seems to be a mental block or hurdle that is keeping Fan Zhendong from becoming world number 1. And this will be a real test for the 20-year-old. See if he can overpower and outsmart, more importantly, Ma Long here to become the world champion at 20 years old. There's the cup they'll be playing for, the world champions. We'll see Fan Zhendong on his side of the draw. Started off beating Per Garel of Sweden 4-0. One of the best servers in the game, very difficult to play, but Fan Zhendong steady in that. An average of a little less than 5 points per game, it appears. Then over Alexander Shibaev of Russia, 4-1. Then a 4-2 victory over Ruin Filus. And again, for a defender to take 2 games off of Fan Zhendong, really impressive. So let's see what else after that. It was Koki Niwa yesterday. And the amount of championship titles, you can see the results here. Look how many championship titles we have. 2008, 9, 11, 15, and 16. So we're keeping track. I know Ma Long is chasing Vladimir Samsonov for World Tour titles, but as world champion, this is just dominant performance out here.
And again, it's been a question of time. World rank number 2, Fan Zhendong, with explosive power on both sides. He's got the touch. He showed us that roller under the net clamp against Simon Gauzy that won point of the year last year. So with all these qualities, like Jonathan Groth said in his Ask a Pro Anything interview, the mental game is what really sets apart a professional and a champion. Lots of people in the world can loop the ball powerfully from both sides and have touch. What are your thoughts, Gavin?
That's exactly it. You get to the world number 1, 2, 3, 4. It really is a mental game. You know, possibly on the world tour, these guys are playing with small injuries throughout the season. But you always feel when it gets to the really big pinnacle event of the year, it's the outstanding two that do get to the final. The world number 1, world number 2 thoroughly deserve for both players here on screen to be here in this final.
Yeah, I feel like about a year ago, we looked head-to-head between these two, and Fan Zhendong has only won once on the World Tour against Ma Long. It was in the China Open in 2016. It was a 4-0 victory. But Ma Long has won every other encounter. He's 10-1 against Fan Zhendong, although we do have to look at the most recent matches to really understand the relevance of these statistics. Not to mention, at 28 years old, Ma Long might be at his peak, but he's definitely at the peak. He's not still, we would think he's not still on his way up. He could continue improving. He seems to be maintaining his level, but there's not much other place to go than down from here. By the time he's 30, if he's still able to keep up this performance, Fan Zhendong's going to be 22 years old and still on the incline on his way up. Solid backhand at the back of the table. Early in the match, again, players still feeling each other out. They were actually warming each other up in the practice hall, interestingly enough. Now, we talk a lot about mental focus. In the practice hall just earlier, there was a member of the staff who had a medical emergency that was quite scary, and I noticed Fan Zhendong, everyone was watching in concern, but Fan Zhendong was very focused and made sure that he kept his head in the match for practice here. That could be very distracting, and there's no question it got in the heads of pretty much everyone there, you know, human beings feeling for one another. Not a point dropped yet from the focused Xiaopang, Fan Zhendong. You know, you and I haven't talked about his sweet spot and how big it is on the backhand side. That ball's a wide to the backhand shot, and he's moving to get to it, but still able to counter and generate a lot of pace. It's always like he's making a shot while moving the setup for the next. So fast.
근데 이거 XY 뒤바꿔 봐. 어떻게 돼?
First point for Ma Long so far. By the way, as we get started on this match, if you have any questions for the commentators, you can send them into the social media at ITTF World, on all social media. Hashtag Ask the Commentator. Gavin and I will be happy to take those questions.
같은 식일까요? XY가 뒤바뀌었잖아. 뭐야? 맞아요. Y는 대칭식이고.
And that's interesting there. Fan Zhendong opting in this early exchange to go with the little reverse serve. It's a very similar action to the Zhang Jike reverse serve.
But they are quite signature, and I feel like because we've seen Fan Zhendong playing later into most tournaments, and we've seen Zhang Jike recently, he's almost sort of taking ownership over that serve, the reverse pendulum. And I have to take it back to that meal in Kuwait a few years ago, 2015, with Ma Long and Fan Zhendong. And one thing Ma Long said is, he said, "I wish I was fatter," which he said with affection, like Fan Zhendong, so I could hit with more power.
로블치하면 이게 좀 이상하게 들릴지 모르겠는데.
And the power has been so evident out here. Now, Gavin, I was talking to someone earlier from breakfast. Fan Zhendong had a plate full of Nutella and bacon, which you wouldn't expect an athlete maybe in the past to be eating, but he was loading up on animal fats and a lot of stuff to make sure he had an unusual amount of energy. Short side of the table, beautiful shot from Ma Long.
얘는 더 쉽다 이거 아니야?
We're seeing some slow sort of development on Ma Long's side of the table, Gavin. What do you think could be responsible as the quality of Fan Zhendong's shots?
Yeah, just misfiring a little bit early on. You know, it's important that he can find a little foothold in this match, possibly touching a little bit shorter than he is at the moment to get that first attack into the right area.
3회 2는
나왔네. A가 전체가 나왔어요.
There's the St. Bride vase that they'll be playing for.
A가 전체가 나왔어.
Since
2는
1929 in London to honor Fred Perry winning the title. 1929. A lot of people don't think of Fred Perry for his table tennis, but tennis and table tennis.
있다는 겁니다. 로봇 테니스.
A bit like you, Gavin.
그치.
I think it'll be a while since until we see that repeated though.
없어요.
Someone winning a major in both tennis and table tennis.
7몇 쓰고 막 바꿀 수도 있고요. 아무 상관없이 막 왔다 갔다 할 수 있다.
I know Monfils is quite a recreational player.
그래서 이것도 로고 취해버리면 바로 끝나버려요.
Oh, burns him on the short side of the table. When you have a set plan like that, it can be dangerous to turn the corner too early.
What was really good about that as well, Fan Zhendong going against that side spin. A lot of the time you would find that left-hand fast side spin, the ball would ping back into the corner where Ma Long had ran round.
It's much like we were talking about in doubles, using the side spin to set up the placement for the third ball. So bravo to Fan Zhendong. A little bit off the top of the net, but power for power. The backhands just explode one after another. Landmines going off at the corners of the table.
But that was better there. Ma Long just settling things down a little bit round the net. That's where he can sometimes be in the ascendancy.
어떻게 보면 좋을까 이거는?
So while he's made a comeback by quite a bit, he still has a ways to go. Fan Zhendong again, much like as far as the mental game, just like the other players against Ma Long who are strong underdogs, where Fan Zhendong is not, it's important that he gets in early to keep Ma Long playing nervous and keep a bit of confidence on his side of the table.
뭐 어쨌든 해니까 집어넣은.
So quick with that backhand, just a bullet back down the line, a parallel shot anyway. Now 5 game points for Fan Zhendong to take the first with authority. Look at the quads on Fan Zhendong. The little wishbone above the kneecap.
일은 자명하잖아. 성공하겠지? 일이 아닌 A라는 패를 구합니다.
Well placed to the middle of the table.
And that's what you have to do. If you're not going to trade someone power to power, you have to think of another way to win points. That'll be either little short exchanges round the net or little subtle changes in direction throughout the rallies.
So 1 game point saved. The serves are on the side of Fan Zhendong.
이 시계 형태를 보라는 얘기야. 아니야? 봐봐. 이렇게 쓰는데 아무런 문제가 없어요. 왜 이렇게 쓰는 것 같아요?
Well placed push deep on the table. Fast long push, you know, can be so good if the surprise factor is there and it's deep.
무슨 이유가 뭘까?
And as long as you don't just go right onto a wing.
Right, well placed in the middle there by Ma Long.
어? 무슨 말이지?
저는 자연스럽게 성공했다.
자, 얘 충분하네.
To get those back. What an effort from Ma Long and what determination and focus from Fan Zhendong to finish that point. This is going to be in the highlights for sure. Look at this one more time. I felt like the patience of Fan Zhendong was so impressive to keep Ma Long from getting the first attack. Very confident play from the 20-year-old, and Fan Zhendong 11-7 over the standing world champion and Olympic gold medalist in Game 1. We'll be back for Game 2 right after this.
이렇게 되죠. 1 빼기
A 제곱 가우스 A 곱이 전체.
곱이 0인데?
하나는 0인데 왼쪽 게 0이 아니고 오른쪽
왼쪽 게 0이 아니야?
게 아니라 쓰는 게 아니에요.
A제곱이 가우스 A가 되는 경우는 A밖에 없나요? 그거 한번 확인해야 됩니다. 그쵸? 자, 그러니까 이 식을 우리는 해석할 때 이렇게 해석하자는 얘기야. A제곱이 가우스 A가 되는 경우와 아니면 뭐다?
가우스 A가 2004만
As the drums were beaten, Malong was beaten in game one as well. Now we saw a chance, I'd say we got a chance to look at the rackets and the equipment on the table. Malong's racket, Fan Zhendong's racket. It appeared that the sponge on Fan Zhendong's forehand was a bit thicker than Malong's. What were your thoughts on that, Gavin, with the table tennis legends and whatnot?
Yeah, obviously with the thicker sponge, that means there's a bit more of that trampoline effect of the ball going into the sponge and then accelerating out. So that straight away, that would tell us that Fan Zhendong has a slightly quicker racket than Malong. And funny, when we go back to legends of the game, the Swedish legends of Janov Waldner and Jorgen Persson, they always opted to use the 1.9 sponge, which was notably thinner than other players. So giving them a little bit more touch.
Excellent shot playing the high risk. That is a very interesting thing to pay attention to. I mean, Waldner often thought of as the greatest touch of all time. And then what you're willing to sacrifice. People always ask, what would you recommend? I'm just getting started, or who knows? But yeah, different preferences for different players, of course. Fan Zhendong with a cannon on both sides and the touch. Almost, if that one comes back around the net. We got another shot of the year potential here. The angle, look how far he has to go to get that. There was one point with Jong Ji-ko where he was going the opposite way and slid back to recover a net ball. It was so amazing. Again, turns just early enough. I guess I should say just late enough to not give away the opening, but early enough to get around this ball and play it down the line.
And that's a sign of a champ. He was really misfiring in that first set, but he still has the confidence to try these shots. Just because they were missing in the first set, you've got to keep going.